Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to What Would Dorcy Do Friday. I'm Dorcy Pruter, the CEO and founder of the Conscious Co-Parenting Institute, and I am excited to be coming to you live this Friday to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I think that get misunderstood or overlooked during divorce and separation. And I want to talk about the most important things that you guys can be doing for your children after divorce. And I I want to express here that a lot of what I'm talking about, some of you may say, well, I don't have communication with my child, or the other parent is this, or the other parent is that. And we hear this all of the time. And I want to talk today about what happens, about what you can do that are some of the most important things, and really some of the things I think that are misunderstandings, things that people miss about what's happening for their children when they go through divorce. And divorce is like a death in the family, and it may sound dramatic or traumatic, but that's how it feels to your child or your children. And everything that they've ever known has now changed. And children crave structure, they crave order, they crave familiarity, and they especially crave that in their family. And no matter how dysfunctional the family may be, they get that because they know what to expect. And now that the family is changed or is changing, your child will look to you for guidance. And yet you're probably struggling too. And divorce isn't just hard on your child. Your life has also been turned upside down as well, and also the life of your co-parent. And so when everybody's going through a divorce, even an amicable divorce, the stress can be absolutely overwhelming, especially for kids. So in order for there to be for your child some structure, you need to provide them with the kind of guidance that they deserve and need. And there's some important things that you actually need to do. And the first thing is to get support. The best way for you and your child to really successfully transition through this challenging time, even in an amicable divorce, is to find support. Support can come from all forms of that come from friends. It could be having a good family systems therapist. It could be having a coach, could be having a very supportive family. But these are people that are willing to listen to you and helping you navigate living on your own. And more importantly, helping your children have a sounding board, but not from a place of splitting, really from a place of everybody coming together and moving into a new family paradigm. So a child who has the ability to speak freely and express their emotions about what's happening in the divorce or the separation, they can express this without worrying about anyone else's feelings. They'll be able to manage better. So they find the opportunity to be able to express themselves in a way that doesn't hurt you or their co-parent. And when we deal with complex family situations where we have high conflict or we have pathology, the children feel immediately, even in normal situations, that they have to parent up because you're emotionally destabilized when the divorce happens. And then normal range parents can stabilize quickly, and parents that have pathology don't. So the child will ally or try to take care of the other parent. So you want to make sure that you're getting the support that you need as quickly as possible, and that you're stabilizing as quickly as possible. That research shows that children only need one stable parent to be able to maintain stability, as long as the parent is implementing skills to teach the child how to be in relationship with both parents. So they only need not just one parent, they need both parents, but only one parent needs to be stable and implementing skills so that the child can be in relationship with both parents. So I want you to hear that correctly. Children, like adults, they fear change, and they'll turn to you for your guidance and support. At the same time, you may not be sure how to provide that guidance because your world is turned upside down as well. So you've got to help your child through this trying time by finding the support for both of you. And you'll be able to navigate this new lifestyle and your new family system together, as long as you are learning and implementing the skills. And What you tell your child after a divorce or about the divorce is really critical. And many parents make the mistake of being deceptive or dishonest or too honest with their children during and after divorce. And oftentimes it's done with the best intentions and you want to protect your child. Yet, even the youngest of children, they're keenly aware that their life is about ready to change or their life is changing. And the best communication tactic is to speak openly and honestly with your children within proper boundaries. So there are really only two things children really want to know and deserve to know about the divorce. Children's your child's main concern are, why are you getting divorced and what's going to happen to them? Mostly what's going to happen to them. So when you're speaking to your child and answering these questions, it's vital to be honest with your child. You want to make sure not to blame or disrespect the other parent or to tell your child too much information. So short, simple answers like, your dad and I have decided that we are no longer good together as a husband and wife, but we're still your mom and your dad. Saying something like, your dad has decided that he wants to live by himself and not be married anymore. That may sound good, but it's not good. It's actually blaming the other parent. And you want to be very careful about your covert and overt messaging to your children, not just in the words that you say, but also in the tonality and your body language. Children need to know that they're not the reason that you're getting divorced. They're almost always questioning their involvement in the divorce and wonder if they could have caused the split or if they could have prevented it. So reassurance and honesty are the only ways that combat this natural tendency in children. So tell your child that you love them, that you both love them. Children need reassurance during this time. As you begin to navigate a life as co-parents, it's vitally important that your child knows that they are still loved by both of you. And while their circumstance may change, the love hasn't changed at all. And they need to know what's going to happen to them. Their other primary concern is what's happening to them. How is it that their life is going to change? They're undoubtedly have heard stories from their friends that their parents have gone through divorce, and they may have legitimate fears about the divorce. And let them know what arrangements that you've made with your co-parent. It's critically important not to give the child a role in the decision-making process. Living in two different homes, that can be challenging enough for children, and you must be careful not to passively give them a role that they're not emotionally equipped to handle. Help them navigate the process of letting them know what to expect and be honest about the changes. So many families report difficulties with reoccurring arguments and hostile words and things that happen when the child becomes hostile because the parents are hostile with one another. And many family members communicate with each other in really dysfunctional and difficult ways. And this is really based on the complexities of the co-parenting relationship mixed with the complexities of being a parent, and oftentimes different parenting styles and different child styles. So how families communicate as you're going through the separation and divorce, and even after, years after, forever, is really important. The voice, tone, facial expressions, gestures, the words that you use when you're talking and coming together present really a live demonstration for your children on how they communicate. And this, in fact, means that it's typically a good idea to consider yourself and your co-parents' behavior around all of your communication throughout the day, especially those that occur in the presence of your children. So you have to pay particular attention to your style of communication. Do one of you interrupt the other? Is that a common thing that you do? Does your co-parent use a sharp tone in their voice, or do they appear uninterested in what it is that you have to say? Or perhaps one or both of you take on an argumentative tone with each other. Pay attention to these things. All of these things impact not only your co-parenting relationship, but also how your children learn to communicate. So think of you and your co-parents as models or role models of communication for your children. And if you or your co-parent aren't communicating as well as you could be, then your children, they'll be picking up all of these negative habits. So you have to change how you talk to each other, and your kids will change their way too. So ensuring that you display healthy ways of relating will really help your children. Also, many other factors influence your kids' communication style. So how you and your co-parent respond to your kids arguing with each other, or how you respond to their arguing with you, is relevant. So how you speak to your children is also in the mix, including your voice, tone, your words, and your body language. For example, your voice tone, oftentimes when we speak to children, is telegraphing. We're telegraphing to our children how we're feeling. So if you're irritated, annoyed, or frustrated, or angry, the tone that you're using probably reflects those feelings, and your kids then pick up on those feelings and behave accordingly. So if you're speaking about your other co-parent using all of those things, then your children are picking that up as well. If you're speaking in a way, I hear parents say this all the time, oh, I never say anything negative about the other parent. Well, you may not be using negative words, but the tonality, the body language, what the children are picking up on is the negativity. I had a chosen parent collective call this past week on Wednesday this week, and one of the parents had a revelation that how he was speaking and how he felt and what he was projecting towards his ex, towards the mother, the daughter was also picking up on and believed that he was speaking and feeling that way about her. And it was, I hope, an enlightening moment, a light bulb moment for this parent to realize that because he's alienated, or he doesn't have a relationship, he's emotionally cut off from this child, he believes that the child and the mother are acting and being and now the same. And so the child believes that too. There was another parent in the collective who has not enforced her parenting time. I say this all of the time. Take your children on your parenting time, no matter what. I don't care how terrible they're being. Take your children on your parenting time. And this parent, I kept asking, what do you want? And she said, really what I want is to run away. So it's not surprising that her child is also running away, not spending time with her. So your thoughts become things. Be careful about what you're thinking, about what you're saying, and also how you're emoting what you're trying to say. It's really, really critical. So when you first begin working to change the communication patterns in your family, you'll likely get some flack from your kids. They'll test you by questioning what you're doing and ignoring you. They may even try to entice you into an argument with them, but as parents, never take the bait. You can help them get ready for change by having family meetings to discuss your concerns. If you're in a cooperative co-parenting plan, then you can do that together. But just remember, it only takes one person in the family dynamic to shift how they're showing up, to start communicating differently, so that the children can pick up those tools and start communicating differently as well. And they will take that over to the other parent. So again, having a family meeting on a regular scheduled basis is one of the things we teach in the High Road, and we talk about this in our coaching as well. Family meetings are a great way to teach kids to effectively communicate. It makes great sense to have meetings where all of the family members can say how they feel and then get input and feedback from the leadership of your family, you, or in the best scenarios, you and your co-parent. So to set up a family meeting, you could say to your kids when they arrive home from school, something like, after dinner and meal cleanup, we're going to all sit down together and have a meeting as a family to talk about how things are going around the house. Once you begin having family meetings with your children, they will get used to them. They'll protest in the beginning because it's different. It's change. It's something new. Just remember that you're talking to your own family in the meeting, and your purpose is to teach all of your kids, everyone in the family, how to communicate more effectively, showing less negative emotions and more problem-solving skills. So as a parent and a leader in the meeting, first and foremost, it's necessary to speak without negativity and to show a spirit of, we can solve any challenge together. So you start the meeting by saying something like, if you have the co-parent with you, Dad and I noticed that the three of you have been having a lot of arguments lately. All the arguing makes us feel upset and unhappy. So we decided to have this meeting to give you each a chance to say what's bothering you so that we can figure out together as a family how to have a happier home. You don't need a co-parent to do that. You can do that in your home. Remember, mom's house basketball, dad's house baseball, two different homes, two different teams. You may do things one way in your home, and the other parent may do things differently in their home, and that's okay. It's not a competition. Basketball and baseball, the two different teams don't compete with each other. While you're in the family meeting, address each child by name, asking them if there's anything at all that's been bugging them or bothering them. What's on their mind? Okay. If anything is upsetting them, then you want about what's going on in the house, you want to give them the opportunity to express themselves. Teach by leading by example, by being able to express yourself using the structure of an I message. When you, I feel because I would like. That's the framework. When you don't pick up your laundry, I feel upset because we had an agreement that you would put your laundry in the hamper and not on the bathroom floor. What I would like for you to do is make a conscious effort to put your laundry in the hamper. Okay. You can give them the opportunity to agree with that, or they may say, can I do it once a week? Or you get into the negotiation process with them. During the meeting, keep your mind open and your mouth closed, at least during the time that your kids are sharing. Ensure that one person talks at a time. Allowing a child to have uninterrupted time is critically important. Anybody appreciates that. If you allow the kids to interrupt one another while they're speaking, then they'll feel unheard. That's a big no-no in the family meeting. So the key is to acknowledge each child's feelings as important while teaching better ways to communicate and to not be disruptive. After someone shares what they are upset about, thank them for sharing. You could even say something about talking and listening to each other like this is a lot nicer than arguing with each other. Show non-emotional diplomacy and tact in your responses when you're communicating with your children. You and your co-parent, or you alone, if you're doing the meeting without a co-parent, can ask your kids something like, what are some of the ways that we could solve this issue so neither of you are upset? Look at each of your children who's involved in the current discussion in the situation. Say something like, Savannah, what's one idea you have about solving this? Just remember that you and your co-parent are responsible for setting the tone and boundaries for how family members will conduct themselves during the family meeting. So when your kids observe talking in calm tones, using an appropriate voice volume and non-inflammatory words with them, over time, they will learn to follow suit. This is a key ingredient, a very critical thing that we teach in the High Road. We actually use this format and this structure in teaching families how to be in normal range together. We use this when children have had an emotional cutoff with a parent for decades. If one child uses an argumentative tone of voice or says something to you to possibly entice you to get into an argument, remind the child calmly that their tone sounds angry or frustrated, and remind them to speak calmly and respectfully to you and to others in the meeting. So you want to ask them to reword what they've said to begin with problem-solving process. This is really important. This suggestion alone will likely be less effective with younger kids at first who have yet to learn about problem solving. It'll be less effective in the beginning when you have an emotional cutoff with the children. It will be less effective if the children are coming on your parenting time, but they're already exhibiting an emotional cutoff, but they're still coming on your time. It'll be less effective in the beginning, really, of any situation, but those situations mostly, and they will get easier and better if you're consistent and you're consistently having family meetings. When your kids use appropriate words, voice, tone, body language, avoid saying zingers to your kids like, there, now you really got it. So that's the difference. Was that so difficult? Don't say things like that. Those kinds of things remind them of their negative way of communicating rather than reinforcing the current positive way that they're speaking. You want to reassure and encourage your children. You want them to use body language that you're using. So you want to make sure that you're responsive and you're using positive words and actions with your kids. So not only during family meetings, but all of the time, make eye contact with them, smile at them, lean forward toward them, pat them on the back and give them a high five. Show your kids that communicating appropriately will really get them much further than arguing. So keep the kids on track during the week by helping them avoid reverting back to those ugly, argumentative, negative behaviors. Your best bet is to really step into one of their arguments if they're arguing with each other, or to give it an NRN, a no response needed. You could use a calm tone of voice and think about what you want from them. So you could, instead of yelling at them or responding like, why are you saying that? Or don't you see how rude and disrespectful you're being, or anything like that? You could say something like, I can see that you're upset. I can see something's really bothering you. Would you like to talk to me about it? Always reinforce your kids when they communicate well and when they tone down their negative feelings in words. Doing so is monumentally more effective to encourage positive communication rather than getting after them or scolding them or focusing on what you don't want, the negative talk. Avoid giving attention for anything that you don't want. It's best to stay on the positive side of things and avoid or ignore negative words and actions unless you're stepping in to help your children solve a problem that they're having together. So when you apply these suggestions consistently over time, you'll see that discouraging your kids' behavior is possible by actually encouraging the behavior that you want. And it's helpful to everyone in your family, and you stay focused on effective communication, and everyone in the house will relate better. So just remember that your thoughts become things. And 4 things that will really help your kids deal with grief when they're going through divorce is 1, learning how to communicate better, right? Doing that and leading by example. Grief is also part of this process, and it's natural for children and adults to mourn the loss of the family and the relationship. It's important for parents to not only realize that grief is a natural reaction to divorce, but it also is supportive to your child to help them understand that they're grieving. And the first step to supporting your child's grief is to acknowledge it and to realize that it can last up to a year and sometimes longer. And there are many different phases of grief. And I have a wonderful What Would Dorcy Do about grief. So if you haven't watched that, make sure you look for that in the YouTube channel on how to process your grief. Grief, as you may know, is complicated. And so when you're grieving, you experience many, many, many different things, and they're often conflicting emotions. Sometimes you're feeling angry and sad at the same time, right? The grief doesn't have a timeline, and you think that you're over it and that you found a new normal when grief can surface again, okay? And it can let you know that you're not through dealing with the change yet. And there are things that you can do as a parent that you can help your child cope with the grieving process. And it's not always easy. And support can make a big difference for your child. And it's important to let them know. It's important to listen to your child. To get through their grief, children need to be able to talk and to be heard by the people that are most important to them. That means asking your child how they're feeling and really listening to the answer. You may not be able to often find a solution for it, and that's okay. Sometimes your child just simply needs to be able to express themselves. Encourage honesty. One of the challenging things for a child will be to express themselves honestly with you. They'll fear hurting your feelings or making you angry. It's important to let your child know that they can tell you anything, and remind them that they won't hurt your feelings, and that their emotions, even if they're furious with you, won't change how you feel about them. Okay. Even if it did hurt your feelings, it's important to talk to them and let them express how they're feeling. And it's important to open up the dialogue. Oftentimes when we have lost a relationship, or we're dealing with the relationship where the children are escalating in conflict, they're picking up things that the other parent is saying, then we're reacting to that. And the child is caught in the middle and you're not listening to them. And we hear this a lot. The misunderstanding of that is that the family systems therapists and a lot of the people surrounding family court say we need to listen to the child, but we're listening to the inauthentic child. And then what happens when we say that is parents stop listening to children altogether. And we've got to help children by authentically listening with our ears and our heart, with our intuitive knowingness. And we have to help them identify their emotions. It can be difficult for children to really know what they're feeling. For example, anger may be difficult emotion for some kids to express. And if they're unable to communicate the emotion to you, consider letting them draw something or to color, depending on their age, that represents their feelings. And they might find a song that reflects the emotion, or a scenario that helps them explain how they're feeling. For example, a child might be able to say that they want to hit something, but may not recognize that emotion as anger. Okay. So giving their feelings legitimacy, parents tend to dismiss a child's emotions. And we say things like, you'll get over it, or in time, this will heal, or that's not you. That sounds like your mother, or that sounds like your father talking. And no one wants to hear that. Even if it's true, they don't want to hear that. Let your child know that it's okay for them to feel whatever they're feeling. You might also help them work through it. For example, I understand you're angry with me. Is there anything that I can do right now to help you feel better? You may not have the answer. They might not have an answer, but at least they know that you've heard them and you haven't judged or dismissed their feelings. Ooh, that sounds like a difficult one. I'm here to help you process through that. Okay. You don't have to jump in and solve. Oh, it's this, it's that, you're being alienated. All of these things, those are the wrong things to say and do, and they will push your child away, or they'll hold them at bay. Grief is a tough process. You want to help your child by encouraging them to communicate by listening to their answers. Listen and reflect back. What I heard you say is the key to adapting to life after divorce, since it's one of the biggest stressors that your child will be dealing with, is this lifestyle change of divorce. They wonder where they're going to live. They may worry that they'll have to go to a different school, or they're concerned that they're going to have a completely different life. Maybe you left the house, and so they don't want to move to a different house. They don't want to live in two places. It's a lot for a child to manage, and they thrive on structure, and they want to know what to expect. So when there is a divorce, it may seem like their world is completely turned upside down. And for many children, they act out as a response to this chaos. And there's one simple way to help children adapt to life after divorce is to make the change slowly. Children need time to adjust to their new family structure and living arrangements. Now, this doesn't mean if you've been divorced for a while that you're going to wait around for your kids to come around someday once you've been alienated. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about as you're going through the process, you need to be having a conversation. If you haven't left the home, then stay there until you have two places identified. Okay. The more that you can keep the same, the better. So when changes need to be made, they often do try to make them as gradually as possible. Give your child time to adjust to each new change before adding a new one. Keeping routines the same. So if you have a bedtime at a certain time, just because you're getting divorced, or because you're divorced and now the children are living in two separate homes, that you become the fun parent and they can stay up all night. While they may enjoy that, that actually impacts all areas of their life. So it's critically important to remain as consistent as possible in keeping things the same for your kids. The same kind of snacks that they have at both houses, the same kind, my oldest daughter, we were 4 when she got divorced, and she had to have the same wallpaper in her house, in both houses. And she had to have the same comforter, and she wanted the same, bath soap and shampoo, and she liked to have the same snacks. And she wanted the same things. And so it was really important to do that for her so that it wasn't so disruptive. And, you want to work with your co-parent when you can to find routines that you can both support. But oftentimes what I find is as I start to create routines and stuff, the child wants those routines and they start to do those things, especially as they get older in both homes. Also, don't forget that discipline matters. One area that we see frequently that becomes lax is discipline. Parents tend to feel guilty about divorcing and they become less rigid with their rules. Don't do this. Your child still needs structure and consequences, and they need support and understanding. Discipline is part of supporting your child, and continuing to observe the same rules as you did before and follow through with the same consequences. Discipline and consistency with consequences really helps your child have a successful adjustment to the new life, to the new family paradigm. Remember, you're still a family. The marriage has ended, but the family is always a family, and it's the children that bond the family together forever. It's important to understand this so that you're not bearing down on your child. And your child needs to hear the truth from you. I've said this already about the divorce, and what you tell them is critically important. Telling the child the truth, it may seem impossible. The reasons for the divorce are often complicated, and quite frankly, they're often adult issues that no child should hear, especially when the behaviors or reasons are applied to one of their parents, someone they love. Okay? Your children love both of you. I don't care what happened in the relationship. Children are prone to be imaginative about what happened, and they may create a reason for the divorce in their mind. And this story often positions them as the cause of the divorce. It's important to tell them the truth about the divorce, or they will assume it's their fault. And chances are your child has overheard conversations between you and your co-parent, or between you and your friends and family, or your co-parent and their friends and family. And they may misunderstand those conversations. And this can cause confusion and stress and also alienation. They may believe that they're no longer loved, or that their life is going to change dramatically, and that maybe that's not really true. And children need to hear the truth so that they don't make assumptions. And they need to hear it from both of you. And if you're not able to do it from both of you, then, if you're listening to this, have the responsibility. They need the information delivered in a respectful and clear manner. And this means that when they have questions or concerns, both parents respect and support the child and each other. And just because the other parent isn't behaving appropriately, or just because the other parent isn't communicating appropriately, doesn't give you a pass. That doesn't mean you should be doing that as well. Keep that in mind when you're talking. So what is the truth? Well, the truth isn't your other parent had an affair and or had a bunch of affairs, and I want you to do all of these. I want you to know how they did this and what they did. I want you to see all the terrible bad behavior of this other parent. I don't care if that's your truth. That is not the truth I'm talking about. Regardless of the reasons of the divorce, the facts are that you and your spouse, now ex-spouse, are no longer happy married people. Okay? That's the truth. You will be much happier when you're no longer married people. You both love your child unconditionally, and that will never change. And you're still a family with them. That while the marriage is no longer intact, the family is always intact, because you are both mom and dad and parents forever. Okay? You will do whatever you can to support them. The truth doesn't have to be long and drawn out. It doesn't have to be about the semantics of the divorce or the breakdown of the relationship. Your child doesn't need to know who did what to whom. They do not need to know that you don't like each other anymore, that you don't love each other anymore. They don't need to know that one is a bad person, or that they spent all the money, or that they had enough. They don't need to know any of that. They do need to know that you love them, and that it's all going to be okay, and that you're still a family, and you will always be a family. Talking about the divorce and telling your child the truth about what is going on helps keep the lines of communication open. There will be bumps along the way. However, your child knows that they can talk to you and that you will listen and tell them the truth. You'll navigate those bumps a lot more easily. Okay? The truth, again, is not your story. It's not what happened in here in the marriage. Okay. The truth is that they're a family, that you're a family, that you're mom and dad, that you love them, that they're not good together, that you're not good together as a married couple anymore. Okay. Some red flags that your children are not managing the divorce well. Every child has their own experience during and after divorce, and some kids, they breeze through it. The transition is easy for them. They thrive and they grow up and they have successful relationships and they become well-adjusted adults. And some children are more sensitive and reactive, and they may be completely derailed by the divorce and the lifestyle change. It can be difficult to tell if your child is managing the divorce well or not, but open communication is essential. You want to be the soft place for your children to land. And it's important to stay close to your child and be aware of their behaviors. And, some of the obvious signs in the beginning are that they have problems sleeping, or they have emotional outbursts. They have anxiety or depression that can cause bouts of anger and frustration, as well as tears. So if your child seems to be more emotional than normal, they may not be coping with the divorce very well. Sometimes their grades drop, or they become hyper-focused on something, in school or something. Maybe they lose interest in previously enjoyable activities. Depression can often cause an otherwise excited and passionate child to lose interest in their favorite activities. They fight with their peers, their siblings, and their friends at school. If your previously calm child is now fighting with other people, it's time to get some outside help. And that can lead to behavior problems down the road. So the sooner, the better. Maybe older children, they start using or abusing drugs and alcohol in junior high or high school. They start self-harming or cutting or having eating disorders or suicidal ideation. They withdraw from friends and family. Some children turn away from those that they love, and it can be a sign of depression or other things. And if your child is exhibiting any of these things, it may be time to get professional help. Now, we all know that the mental health community surrounding divorce is not great, and you'll need to find a family assistance therapist to work with you, your family as a unit, or with one of our skilled coaches in implementing the skills that I talk about here on What Would Dorcy Do. You want to find a trusted advisor, somebody that you can work with and work with your family so that you can together navigate this troubled time and get through it successfully. You don't have to go it alone. Oftentimes, divorce isn't perfect. No divorce is perfect, and you'll make mistakes, and it's difficult to navigate. And it's a challenging time, and no one is immune from emotions and challenges associated with the transition into life after divorce. That being said, you can avoid making too many mistakes with your child by managing the process better. And so if you look at some of the things that people miss, like not recognizing depression, both you and your child, you're more susceptible to depression during the transition. Same with the co-parent. You're both suffering a loss. The loss may be different. However, it's no less significant than the death of a loved one. So you're mourning the life that you had, and though you may be experiencing an emotional cutoff with your child, you're mourning the loss of the relationship there. So depression is a very serious condition, and that can impact you and your children for the rest of your life. And if you're not dealing with that, and you believe that you can just move through it, and your child may be dealing with depression and maybe even just mild depression, you've got to take the steps to get the right help. Depression is not to be ashamed of. It's something that can be dealt with, and it can be dealt with in a healthy way. And it's also important to not place the burden on your children. We see this a lot, that divorced parents turn to the child for comfort, or they place added responsibilities on them. And it can happen unintentionally. Sometimes we see like moms place the child, or the son just takes the older child, the oldest son takes the role of the father in the relationship, and then he becomes resentful towards the father and blaming, and it's not his job, and it's unfair. And if you find yourself turning to your child for nurturing, or depending on them for comfort and moral support, you're allowing them to take on adult responsibilities. And you've got to stop this before it goes any further. You've got to let your children be children. And if you've already gotten too far down that road, then it's up to you to turn the ship around and to help your child be a child again. You have to take responsibility for your own emotions, for your own feelings. These belong to you, and you can take responsibility with your child. If you've caught yourself doing that, it's okay to say, I've put too much on you. This isn't your responsibility. I apologize for that. I'm taking that back now. You can just be a kid. Not taking care of yourself is one of the things that we see both parents do in divorce. And it's easy to let yourself go and to stop making yourself a priority, especially if you're experiencing an emotional cutoff from your kids. However, you need to take extra care of support of yourself and find support during this time. It's the only way that you can really be the best parent for your child. You've got to take steps to get the support and care that you need. You've got to be patient with yourself and take small steps as you transition into your new life. And there are some things that you can do. One is to find someone to talk to. Our coaches are very trained and skilled in helping parents just like you transition through divorce and also beyond. And if you're experiencing an emotional cutoff, how to actually implement the skills I'm talking about here, being more focused on your family dynamic. It's really important to find somebody that you know, like, and trust that can help guide you through the process. Pay attention to what you're putting in your body. Food can either fuel your body or in a healthy way or in an unhealthy way. And we often turn to our comfort foods when we're stressed. So transitioning to a life as a divorced parent isn't a one-day stressor. You're going to be stressed out for a while. It can take weeks, months, sometimes years. So months of eating comfort food will undoubtedly result in weight gain and other detrimental effects on your health. So make sure that you're eating well and pay attention to your habits. When we're stressed, it's tempting to go to escapes. So if you're tempted to use drugs or alcohol to escape, think again. This can turn into an unhealthy habit. And it also is not a good example for your child, and it can have a negative impact on your parenting. You want to nurture yourself with good habits. If you're tempted to escape, watch a favorite movie or read a good book. And don't forget to have fun. Divorce can be an opportunity for a do-over. You have the ability to make your life whatever you want it to be. So find ways to embrace your new life and enjoy it. So it's important to take care of yourself and also to have fun. Even if you're experiencing an emotional cutoff with your children don't want to come back to they want to come back to a parent that's happy, healthy, and whole. You want to be the soft place for your children to land, the place they feel like they can come and speak to. One of our coaches just recently reconnected or saw her alienated children. And had she not been doing the work that we do here, she would have taken the opportunity that they took to feel safe enough to empty their emotional trash can into emotional garbage into her trash can. Had she not been doing this work and implementing these skills, she would have handled those encounters very poorly, which would have closed the door for the opportunity for reunification and reconnection. Instead, she opened up her trash can and put in a couple of smell good liners. She knew it was going to be a while. And she allowed her children to empty their trash without taking it personally. Okay. So your child wants to feel important. There are three things that they want from you. They want to feel that they are important to you. Your child needs to know that they're important to you and to your co-parent. The words are great. They love hearing I love you. However, they also need to see your devotion and your actions. They need to see you at their school events. Your involvement is critical to their happiness. You must take them on your parenting time. If you don't stay involved in your child's life, they'll feel unimportant and unloved. If you don't take them because they're being too difficult and they're really alienated, what you're saying to your child is you can't manage them, that they're not safe with you. Their emotions and their tantruming and all that is not safe with you. You don't know how to handle it. That's the messaging they pick up. Your child wants your respect. They want respect shown in a number of ways. One of the ways that your child needs to feel your respect is by not fighting with their co-parent, by bad-mouthing them and when they're not around, or using negative language and tone when you're talking to them. Your child is part of that person. And when you fight or talk badly about them, your child takes it personally. Respect is also shown by not putting your child in the middle. Your child wants you to know that they don't want to have to choose between mom and dad. They don't want to be forced to be passing messages back and forth. They'll do it if they're forced to, but they don't want to. Your child wants you to be their parent. Your child wants you to know that they're not your friend, that they need you to be their parent, that they need structure and rules, that they need boundaries and consequences, that they need you to be responsible for them, the responsible one, so that they can make mistakes and be a kid. Finally, your child wants you to take good care of yourself and of them. They want you to take good care of yourself for them. They want you to take good care of them. They want this new life to be a positive one, not a negative one. They want you to help them transition through their fears in a healthy way. So when you're looking toward your new life and you're staying positive, rebuilding your new life after divorce doesn't have to be a negative experience. In fact, it can be a rewarding and exciting time in your life. Just let it be those things. And when you're feeling overwhelmed as your new responsibilities and pressure come forward, find support. And it's also, divorce can be a time to follow your heart and create a life that you want. So explore some of the things that I've been talking about. Stay positive and embrace your new life. And set a time limit when you're grieving. So if you're still feeling the grief or you're struggling to adapt to this new way of being, give yourself a time limit. So when you're feeling sad or angry or overwhelmed, acknowledge those negative emotions, allow yourself to feel them. However, don't let them take over your day. Give yourself 5, 10, maybe 20 minutes to experience the negative emotion, then shake them off and reframe your outlook. Write the negating truth. Find something else to think about. Find a new way to rewrite the negative story. And find something fun to do. I want to close by saying that while this is a difficult time, and especially if you're experiencing an emotional cutoff with your children, you still need to incorporate and find levity and fun in your life. You know, when you're always focused on the negative, you're always going to be bringing in negative. And think about things that you've always wanted to learn or do. Maybe you wanted to learn to bake, or maybe you wanted to learn to rock climb, or maybe you wanted to write a book. Identify something that you can look forward to and something that will make you smile, and invite that activity into your life. Maybe you need to get a makeover. Maybe you need a new haircut, or buy some new clothes, or polish your fingernails and your toenails. You know, looking good helps you feel better about yourself. And this is a time when you get to reinvent yourself. So why not start with new positive changes? And look to the envisioned future. Identify the goals or something that you want to achieve. Create a plan to achieve it and begin the process. So when you have something to look forward to, it's easier to not dwell on the past or what you're avoiding. So oftentimes I ask, what do you want when people call us? What do you want? And they've been spinning so much in the negativity and the negative emotions and what's happening and all of these things and the behavior of everyone else that they've lost themselves in the process. And sometimes it's the first time you may be hearing somebody asking you, what do you want? Spend time envisioning your future. What do you want? And then take actions, put together an action plan and take actions, take the steps forward so that you can achieve those things. So take good care of yourself. It's amazing how much our diet and exercise can impact our life. So when you begin to take better care of yourself, you start to feel better. You start to feel empowered. You also begin to experience the benefits of those positive, healthy chemical levels. You sleep better. You manage your stress better. Getting good nutrition and exercise gives you more energy to induce a sense of calm. So when things are chaotic, you don't have to jump in. They help you stay positive. And staying positive isn't always easy, and no one expects you to always have a smile on your face. However, a positive attitude is something that you can cultivate, and it will help you and your family move forward in a positive way. So you now have a chance to reinvent your life and follow your heart. Listen with your heart, not just your ears, but with your heart, your intuitive knowingness. So that's it for this What Would Dorcy Do Friday. Remember, you have to have peace in so that you can have peace out. I hope you take time this weekend to implement what I'm sharing with you today. Have an awesome weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.